Mr. Patrick Francie, you're kind of laughing at me a little bit right there, aren't you?
I'm laughing at you a little bit.
I know you so well. I know you're kind of laughing at me. It's all good. It's all good. So Patrick, we got people here coast to coast that are logging in right now. We also have people, welcome everyone, welcome. We also got people watching live as well from all around the globe, in fact. So huge turnout tonight, huge audience tonight. And we have a big topic of conversation, Patrick, which is Acre. We're going to be talking about Acre Real Estate Investor Summit. And I'm actually just curious, folks, if you're watching live, put it in the comments. And if you're tuning into this in terms of, on the webinar, then put in the chat. I want to know if you've been to an Acre before. Have you been to a Acre Real Estate Investor Summit last year, the year before? We've been doing them for 28 years. Patrick, we've done well over 100 of these things. I'm curious to see if people have come. Please let us know if you've attended, where you attended, and maybe even how many times you've attended. Patrick, how many times have you attended Acre?
Okay, I've actually, I know it's about 53 that I've attended, including back in the days when I was a RAI member, starting back in 2001-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple.
Yeah. More than a couple. Yeah.
A couple. I remember I was talking to Don. You and I were on stage with Don last year, beginning of last year, and it was number 101, I think, is as many as he did.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
Well, you know what, Patrick? A few more years, you'll be over 101 as well. So.
That's true.
So that's great. Folks, while we're getting everyone getting seated, getting in, let us know in the comments, in the chat, let us know. We have a big webinar tonight. We want to know, have you been to Acre Real Estate Investor Summit? Acre has changed so much over the last 28 years, but it's really changed a lot in the last year, Patrick. We have completely redesigned. We're going to talk about that today, folks. So you're in for a treat. But Patrick, this is all about, as we get sort of into this, and I want to get going relatively quickly here because it's 8 p.m. on the East Coast right now. It's 8 p.m. in Ontario. It's 5 p.m. where you are. So everyone's busy and everyone's got places to go. So people want to find out, should I come to Acre this year? What is it all about? What are you guys going to be talking about? And right now, Patrick, registration is off the charts. As you know, we are ahead of last year's registration. And it may be it will be a record turnout for 2020. And I think that's because, what do you think, Patrick? Do you think that's because people are planning the next decade of their life? They're thinking, man, if I would have invested in 2010, imagine where I'd be now in 2020. And they're kind of clicking into, shit, if I make the right moves today, in 2030, it's going to be a whole different ride.
Well, that's a really great question, JG, and it's something, all we can do is kind of speculate. But I think ultimately when we look at the fact is that 2020 is the beginning of a new decade. And for individuals who are looking at, maybe they're reflecting on life, they're reflecting where they are financially, they're looking at the marketplace, but they're saying, something, here's my opportunity to kind of reset, let go of a bunch of stuff that didn't work for me over the past 10 years and bring forward what did, and let's recreate and set the trajectory for the next 10 years. Because real estate is a long game. The greatest winners in real estate are in for the long game, and they understand that, and they want to set themselves up really well to win. When we talk about trajectory, by the way, and I don't want to digress too far, but we talk about trajectory and setting yourself up to win and to set the right trajectory. For some golfers, they'll really get this, is that when you approach the ball, when you're going to drive it on the fairway, you spend a lot of time setting up. You spend a lot of time making sure, is my head down? Am I taking my eyes off the ball? I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to follow through with my swing. But a golf ball hit 1 millimeter off at the tee is in the next fairway. So it really is important to set the trajectory right. Now, David Maxwell, who's on this call, is an avid golfer. He's always right down the middle, and he has fades and purposeful hooks and all the rest of it. But for the real estate investors of the world that don't quite hit it that straight, we really need to focus on trajectory. And I think, to your point, JG, I really do believe that Acre, this time of year, it's early in the year, really does set you up to set your trajectory. And I'm hoping and I'm believing that's why, one of the reasons, and there's several others, but it's one of the reasons people are attending Acre.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And that's what ultimately people want to be successful real estate investors. That's what they want. That's what they deserve. That's what they want. That's what they want Acre to help them be as successful real estate investors. And folks, you only have 8 days and 22 hours, 54 minutes and 22 seconds left before Acre starts. So time is running out. Let's take you through, let's start talking about, Patrick, what Acre is going to cover, because when it comes to real estate, a lot of people believe that it's all about passive income. It's all about, but it's more than just passive income. It's not just passive income. In fact, Acre covers both active income strategies and passive income strategies, doesn't it?
It does. It really is it sets you up looking at real estate quite differently, because some live into the myth that if I'll have passive income today and I'll buy 5 properties and I'll generate, $2,500 or $5,000 worth of cash flow, and I'll put $5,000 worth of cash flow in my jeans. That is really a myth. You don't do that. I mean, there's different ways to invest. One is for cash flow in the future, which is usually the buy and hold strategy. It's one of the more common ones. And then certainly active income. But understanding the difference between active income today and passive income in the future, 2 different conversations, 2 different strategies, well, a number of different strategies to reach and achieve those goals. And Acre sets you up to understand some of the fundamental things you need to know so that you can make decisions, manage expectations, and put a plan in place.
And what I love is we cover both. A lot of people, and this is where a lot of real estate investors go wrong, is they're only looking at one side of the equation. You have a lot of, and Patrick, this goes with both sides, by the way. Yeah, I know a lot of people who do really well in the fix and flip game. They do really well in the assignment game. They really do really well in the AFS game, agreements for sale. And a lot of those are active strategies, especially assignments and fix and flips. And what happens is they're not looking after their passive income needs. They're not planning for financial certainty in the future. They're not planning for financial security. They're not planning for financial freedom. What's happening is they're only looking at active income. They're going out, they're buying Porsches, they're buying time, they're doing all that stuff with their active income. They're not planning the future. What I love about Acre is we balance both. We have active income strategies, we have passive income strategies, and you're actually going to design as part of, I don't want to go, it's difficult, Patrick, to do these because I just want to dive into all the details.
I know, there's so many places to go. But there's a couple things here. I noticed a couple things. Victor asked the question, is it a lot of work? Is real estate a lot of work? And the answer is, it depends, because there's different ways to, invest in real estate. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But that's a great question, by the way, because it's better to go in understanding what the strategy is and how much time, how much money, how much knowledge, how much focus. We're going to talk about that actually tonight a little bit on one of the slides, the matrix of time, money, knowledge, and focus. And then I want to answer this question because a couple of people have asked it. Why was Acre in Toronto moved from April to February? And some of these things for the members is that, understand, we do probably, JG, 60 events a year. Yep. And we're at the effect often of, and we're booking our venues 12 months in advance and we're at the effect of certain dates, spring breaks, vacation time, holidays and long weekends. And so what happens is that it's a big puzzle because we're right across the country. We're really in 5 cities. And so we're putting the pieces together. So to answer your question, Al, is that why was it moved from April to February? I don't know the exact answer, but I'll guarantee you it was probably availability of venue. It could have been where spring break lands. I don't know the exact answer, but that's one of the primary reasons that it was moved.
Yeah. Just so you know. Also, the other thing is availability of speakers. We have an action-packed lineup for you this year. And availability of speakers has a lot to do with
something, I can't step over that. Something I want to state for those of you who've never been to an Acre, the individuals that are on stage, as much as time as JG and I spend on stage, we have the individuals on stage who are speaking and are on panels and all of those things. They're in the trenches. They're not professional speakers. They're They're in the trenches doing what they do for a living. And by the way, they happen to be good speakers and they want to give back to the community. And so they come on and they teach. But some of those speakers that we really want, because they're so good, their availability is limited.
Yeah, well, they're real estate experts in the trenches, like you said, Patrick. Now, that being said, though, is one of the things that's out there today, and folks, for everyone listening, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people coast to coast listening to this right now, and in replay even more. There's a lot of confusion right now, Patrick. I mean, you know, there's always been a lot of confusion in real estate. Media has always been a big confusing factor to real estate, but it's now 4 times worse, because you have media, which is still doing what media does, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But now you have this thing called social media, and you have Facebook and Instagram and YouTube stars and all the various things that is creating more confusion. And then on top of that, you have other so-called experts which have perhaps hidden agendas. They might be selling real estate, they may be selling deals, they may be something behind the scenes they're looking to sell you. As a result, what happens, Patrick, is confusion. And in the world of confusion, real estate's difficult.
Yeah, and it really is hard to, you know, for a lot of people to kind of cut through the clutter. You can spend a lot of time wasting, you know, or you spend a lot of time, you can waste a lot of time trying to get to the bottom of what's real. You know, once to your point, you know, social media, YouTube experts. I mean, we've been in the business 28 years. I mean, we know the game and we know who's out there and we know the hidden agendas. You know, the one fundamental thing that I think, you know, I'll say up front at this particular event, and RAIN members know this, is we don't have you run to the back of the room. We're not selling real estate deals. Whether you buy real estate or don't buy real estate doesn't affect our bottom line one little bit. It's not what we're built to do. We're there, we're education, we're leaders. We understand the economic fundamentals. We teach you to fish. So often what happens is in these free meetup groups, listen, there's no such thing as free. And you know, I always go back, and it sounds like maybe I got to be careful about how I say it, but ultimately my dad taught me, you know, if you're buying something for free, that's about what it's worth often. So always be guarded, right? And I know the extreme of that is in lots of people, but we're not going to sell you a $25,000 coaching program. We're not going to sell you a piece of real estate after we teach you a particular strategy. And oh, by the way, this real estate just happens to fit that strategy. So it's none of that. We're there. We're education focused. We're really, really sincerely committed to your success in investing in real estate. But whether you buy or not doesn't affect us.
And folks, I really want you to ask questions tonight. This webinar is for you. It's for you to ask questions, to say, are you going to cover this at Acre? Are you going to cover that at Acre? Let us know what your questions are. We will answer your questions. Because folks, one of the things that RAIN's all about, Patrick's all about, I'm all about, the entire RAIN team, from our executive team to our research team, to our marketing team, to everyone on the team, is all about one thing, which is eliminating this confusion that's created by so many other people. Because in today's day and age, Patrick, it is a shame that Canadians have to struggle for their wealth, that Canadians have to struggle for financial security, for financial certainty, and most Canadians will never even forget financial freedom. That's way too big of a conversation. Most Canadians will never achieve even the concept of financial security, and there's no reason for that, given the massive amounts of opportunities that are happening in the real estate business. And that's what we're about. We think confusion is the enemy. We're here to crush confusion. We're here to get you grounded and make sure that you get what you need, so that you get the results you need, so you can have a financial secure, financially certain, and one day financially free life.
You know, we used to think it was challenging before, you know, because we understand why newspapers have big bad news headlines. Like it's actually, Don R. Campbell many years ago changed the conversation of investing in real estate from speculating. He said, why are people speculating in real estate? Look at the economic fundamentals that drive a real estate market, understand the economic fundamentals, and get out in front of it so you know where real estate is going in the future. Our job as real estate investors is to look into the future, not into the past. Let's look at where real estate's going based on the economic fundamentals. Now, that all seems, you know, a little, maybe for some, a little out there. For RAIN members that are on here, you know that. But ultimately, the traditional media, the blaring bad headlines, because that's what sells newspapers, and their job is to sell newspapers because they need to sell advertising. So understand the dynamic behind it. So understanding what is being written is really important. So that used to be the biggest challenge, right? Newspaper headlines. It's no longer the biggest challenge. You've got US news that I see it happen all of the time, where I'm talking to people and they're talking about what's going on in the news, and they don't know that they've crossed the line where they're going, no, that's a US thing. And yes, we have to consider the ripple effect, the vibration, because the US is way bigger. But ultimately, that's not a Canadian thing. But because with television, with Facebook, with all of the social media, we sometimes don't know what line that is. And it is very confusing. And how do you discern it? That's what our job is. That's why we have, research and analysis. That's part of, it's really part of who we are.
Wonderful. I totally agree, Patrick. And Shane's asking a great question about our opinion of Airbnb and short-term rental. Shane, I will answer that question at the end, pal. Folks, as the questions come up, put them in the chat. We're going to collate them. We're going to answer all these questions at the end. So great question, by the way. Fantastic.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, really good.
So, Patrick, one of the things that's really important to us at Rain is treating your business of investing in real estate like a business. Not, a lot of people, I say, Patrick, I don't know the number, but I'll say more than half of real estate investors are what I call accidental real estate investors, which is they owned a home, they couldn't get out of that home for some reason. And as a result, what happens is they end up having another home and then this thing called a rental. And now they're an accidental real estate investor. And this creates all kinds of confusion. This is not our belief, folks. We believe in treating your business, you're treating your real estate like a business. And Patrick, you really pioneered this at Rain 20 years ago. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I'll give you a little bit of a story behind it, because it was many years ago when I was part of Rain in early 2000. And Don Campbell used to say, treat your real estate investing like a business. I've been an entrepreneur for the past 35 years. So really, I got that right away. Wow, that's brilliant. What a great way to look at it. Real estate's not a hobby. Treat it like a business. But then as I talked to other individuals, there was something that was missing. And that was, what does that mean? So if you're not an entrepreneur, like I've been pretty much all of my adult life, if you've got a job, if you're a healthcare worker or you're a tradesperson, guess what? You've got a job. You get your paycheck deposited in your account every week or two or whatever the deal is. But ultimately, what does that even mean? So Don at the time tasked me with, he says, and I brought that up with Don. He said, that's a really great point. He goes, why don't you take a look and say, how do we treat it like a business? What does that even mean? So we actually started really wrapping some strong education around what does it mean to treat your real estate investing like a business when you don't know what that means. We want to build it on a very strong foundation, which is the first is, why am I investing? Where am I investing? When am I investing? There's those fundamental questions that we ask ourselves. And then we start to break it down pragmatically and look at it, because it can be pretty overwhelming. You see the cornerstone of this is about planning, JG. And we know on the other corner of that is community. In between all that, of course, is relationship and education, which is what we really, really provide. And then creating revenue. And so, I don't want to step over the community part of it, because 28 years later, Rain's still doing what it's doing. The community's done $5.4 billion, $5.3 billion worth of transactions, 40,000. And we're going to talk about it in this, but community, environment, culture. And you have a community with a culture of collaboration where like-minded individuals are supporting each other. That is absolutely imperative. But it's also what sets you up to treat it like a business. And then putting your plan together gets supported when you look at the processes and systems that you need to put in place.
So when you look at this, folks, as we go through the rest of this in this pyramid, and as we first of all, if you haven't thought about real estate like a business yet, your mind might be going into mush mode right now, which is, think about it, as a real estate, you have revenue, you have expenses, you have assets, you have liabilities, you have clients, they're called tenants, you have legal counsel, you have accounting. This is all the makings of a business. You have to do research, you have to do market research, you have to do marketing, you have to do sales. You have to do maintenance, you have to do repairs. Even one property, Patrick, a single door is a business. The more properties you add on, it doesn't change the business, other than you end up with a bigger business worth more millions of dollars.
Well, and it's such a critical component. Even one property, to your point, you have an agreement with a bank, you have legal involved, you're going to have accounting. And guess what you're doing? You're marketing to do what? To attract clients, what we call clients, which are tenants, of course, because you have something to offer, you have something to sell. And is location important? Well, guess what? If your business is a hot dog stand, are you going to put it out? Where's the best place to put a hot dog stand? Well, if you've ever been to a football game or a baseball game or some other sporting event, guess where the best place to put a hot dog stand is right in front of the stadium. And they do it all the time. And when you buy a property, where's the best place to buy a property? Well, you want to look at who you're attracting. You want tenants. Guess what they want? They want transportation. Oh, we never even got to how important the economic fundamentals and transportation changes and how transport and walkability. Guess what? Those are all things that support you in treating it like a business. And it's why it's so important that we understand the context and the fundamentals of that.
So let's break this down, Patrick, and let's go through Acre Real Estate Investor Summit in Toronto, February 7th through 9th, as it relates to, and we're just going to pick some of these folks, that we expect this webinar to be over about 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So about another 40 minutes. Otherwise, Patrick and I can go at this all night long. That's what we love to do. So
that's what we love to do.
So, but let's look at the first cornerstone, right? Let's look at the first cornerstone of community. So at the Acre Real Estate Investor Summit, you're going to be surrounded by 500 plus real estate investors that are doing exactly what you're doing. They have the same goals, the same visions. They're supportive, they're collaborative, they're like-minded. And this, we got to tell you, even though you may not fully understand this is actually the secret weapon to being successful in real estate, is that community. And there's no better community in Canada than at REIN, Patrick. I think obviously you'll agree with that. That's the first pillar, the first cornerstone. We'll come back to that in a second. Go to the other side of the pyramid, you see planning. So one of the first topics that we cover on Saturday morning, which is February 8th, is the first topic we cover is planning your financial certainty by design. So REIN has a formula that's called 3-8-17. Financial security is achieved after 3 properties. Financial certainty is achieved after 8 properties, and financial freedom is typically achieved at about 17 properties, depending on your lifestyle. But most people, Patrick, fall into those 3. We're going to show you exactly how to plan to get to 3, then get to 8, then get to 17, assuming that is what you want. We're not telling you how many properties you need. Some of you need 2 properties and you'll be great. Some of you need 5 or 6. Some of you need 10. Some of you need 15. You're going to figure out, we're going to walk you through an exercise and actually have you physically plan out your financial certainty. So you're not leaving here with esoteric, maybe I should do this, maybe I could do that. What about this? What about that? This isn't a pump you up kind of event. This is a pen to paper, get it done kind of event where you walk out knowing, okay, I need to get 6 properties. I need to do it in about 7 years from now. So I need about 1 every 13 months. I need to do this. You walk out of here with a step-by-step game plan, Patrick.
Yeah, and it's interesting that when we look at the concept of treating it like a business, there's a couple comments that showed up. Somebody commented, well, there's a lot of events going on that weekend, and it's, man, like, where do you go? And it might affect attendance. Guess what? That's part of the confusion, right? There's so much stuff out there. We're just going to be the stand for who we are and what we've always been. And when we look at the brand and understanding, treating it like a business, it answers the next question, which was, can you speak to financing? Well, yeah, financing is a tough one, but I'll tell you this, is that you hit a certain number of properties. Some it's 2, 3 properties, others 5 is a really common one. If you sneak in 6 or 7, you're doing really, really well. And when I'm talking about property, I'm talking about titles, individual doors, okay? So you can have a property that's 1 title, 4 doors, but I'm talking about titles, individual titles. So when you treat it like a business and you start hitting the financing wall, which is absolutely, I've hit it, JG, you've hit it, Everybody hits it. But when you treat it like a business, you realize that the next step is that in your evolution and in your own development of a business is to say, how do I overcome that? Well, that's where generally you're going to start tapping into outside sources of financing. Could be private lending, could be joint venture partnerships where your joint venture partners actually getting the mortgage and you're putting together deals that way. You're raising capital that can in fact be used to buy that property. So then you actually treat it like a business, which is, okay, I got a problem, scratch my head, how do I get past it? Oh, I got to learn a little bit more, I got to expand on what I'm doing a little further, and then I start to get stuff done.
Now, and Patrick, keep going on this financing thing, because it's such a big problem for a lot of people. So folks that are on this call thinking right now, I've been running into this financing issue. Don't worry, we all have, but there are ways around it. We have, for example, 2 RSP specialists, which are going to show you strategies to actually stop using the banks altogether.
Totally.
Like just forget the banks. You're not going to work with the banks anymore. These are all strategies. We're all going to teach you. We're going to teach you all of this, folks, at the Acre Real Estate Investor Summit. So if you're having an issue with financing, there's probably about 17 different ways to attack that problem, not just one. First of all, did you design your portfolio properly? Do you need to redesign your portfolio before you even move forward? Have you even asked yourself that question? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. So it's much more than just like a secret, oh, use this bank instead of this bank. It has nothing to do with that. It's way deeper than that, because this is a business. And on top of that, we have a power broker that's going to be giving several talks from the stage, as well as a joint venture capital panel, Patrick, in order to achieve this financing, because it is a big thing. Listen, folks, every single one of you would do more real estate if you had more capital. That's just a straight goods. That's a straight fact. You know, and the fact is we need to get you access to that capital. We know how to do it, and that's what we're going to teach you at Acre.
And here's the other thing about it is that if you're a deal finder, if you can find deals, guess what? There's lots of people with capital that aren't able to find deals. And we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about that. But ultimately, if you're a deal finder, guess what? Money will find you.
Well, and actually, I want to come back to Victor's question about properties or individual units or doors, right? So, folks, this is great. When Rain talks about properties, we talk about individual titles. That's the formula we've designed. But in the planning session on Saturday morning, where we talk about your financial certainty by design, we're going to figure out exactly how many properties, doors, units you need, so that you're no longer confused. Do you need 3 properties with 6 doors, or do you need 3 properties with 18 doors to achieve what you want to achieve? You're going to find out after you're done that segment on Saturday morning.
Yes, 100%.
Those are the Patrick, next layer. I'm into the 3rd layer here. We got to keep moving.
Okay, fine. Because this is a big topic, right? It's, you know.
And Patrick, there are people, I know, because the first time I saw this pyramid, listen, just like you, Patrick, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been doing business now for 20 years. And I remember seeing this pyramid, and like you, I thought to myself, wow, this makes so much sense. But I know other people think, wow, I thought real estate was simple. Like, I thought you just bought a building and made money. No. It's way more complex. I didn't say it's not easy. It's just that it's, what is it, Patrick? It's simple. It's just not easy.
It's simple. It's just not easy. That's true. And that's really what it's all about. But when you take it and break it down into kind of a pragmatic, now this is some building blocks, right? And if you double click on any one of these, guess what? It gets really, really big and can be overwhelming. But when you start to take a more pragmatic approach, a more thorough kind of look at it, then all of a sudden you can put it into bite-sized pieces and you can take it on.
Yeah, well, let's just look at property management for a second. We're going to be doing actually a very in-depth property management sector on exactly how you need to find tenants, how you need to sort for tenants to make sure you pick the proper tenants, how to make sure you manage the proper tenants, how do you do proper renovations on the right property so you attract the right tenants. We show you all of these systems, folks. By the way, property management is one of the first sections on Sunday morning. It's taught by yours truly. So I'm excited about that. Now, Patrick, actually, I wanted to say, I took a note, but I do think, Patrick, we got to come back to the beginning before we continue and at least introduce ourselves, because some people have no flipping clue who you and I are.
Oh, aren't we assumptive?
So, folks, for those of you who don't know me, my name is JG Francoeur. I am the Chief Growth Officer for Rain. I am the Chief Executive Officer for Vistra Property Group, and I'm proud to be on the executive team of Rain.
And I'm Patrick Francie. I am the CEO of the Real Estate Investment Network. I am the creator and the host of the podcast, The Everyday Millionaire. And I'm often on the stage with JG and the rest of the team doing what we love to do, which is educating and supporting others investing in real estate and having success.
And folks, both Patrick and I, and actually all the executive team here at Rain, but Patrick and I especially are we do this because we like to give back. And Patrick, as an owner of Rain, and both of us started, Patrick, as clients of Rain. We were clients. We were members. We learned real estate investing through Rain, grew up, grew through that, built big portfolios, did what we had to do, and now we're in the giving back stages of our life, if you will.
Yeah, and this is, we can get pretty passionate about this, and because we're looking at what's going on in an industry, we look at what's going on in Canada in the real estate market, we look at the different markets. We hear terms, which is kind of our little pet peeves. The average Canadian house price is like, oh gosh, that's like saying what's the average temperature in Canada? It's plus 10 here today, and in the lower mainland, and you were plus 2 or something, I think we talked, and Alberta's wherever it's just a silly thing, and the economy in Alberta, yet the headlines is what creates the confusion. And that's why we're here tonight, and that's why we have this event called Acre, and it really is about bringing people together to understand truly, without any hidden agendas, a nice safe space to come in and learn about real estate, have some fun, meet some people. We actually have many members who come across Canada. They'll be coming from Alberta, they'll be coming from British Columbia, they'll be actually attending that Toronto event, and for a couple of different reasons. Number one is network. Number two is to expand their perspective and to learn and to see another view of the world. When you're treating it like a business, that it becomes what you do. As Rain members get to go to these events for free, by the way, so it's a little bit different if you're not a Rain member listening to this, or if you are, understood. But ultimately, this is an environment where people are here to learn. The community, the culture is really of collaboration, and the environment is about you having success investing in real estate and being in a nice, safe space.
Yeah, so folks, the reason we get so passionate about this is because Acre and this Real Estate Investor Summit is the one-stop shop, the Hallapalooza for real estate investors, if you will.
The what? The Hallapalooza? Oh my gosh, that's big.
I know, right? This is the one place where you're going to find all the right lawyers, all the right accountants, all the right brokers, all the right agents, all the right everyone for your entire team. You're going to be able to build this entire business pyramid, at least start building it right here in this one shot. And it all starts, by the way, and I want to touch on the top here, Patrick, because at some point we're going to have to move on beyond this slide, but yep. I'm so passionate about the vision component of this, because most real estate investors never think about their vision. They don't ask, what's real estate going to do for me, right? All they think about is, okay, I want a property, and then I want 2, and then I want 3, and then I want 5. And then they get to this place where they have 10 properties or 10 doors, or however you want to define it, it doesn't matter. They wake up one morning and they say, this real estate game sucks. And all of a sudden, right, they never built real estate into their life. And we've brought in an Olympic coach, ladies and gentlemen, an Olympic coach who literally owns the podium at the Olympics year after year after year. She did it last Olympics. She's going back. It went 2022, right, Patrick?
Yeah, that's her next one. She was, this will be her 3rd Olympics, by the way. Yeah.
Her third Olympics. And folks, this Olympic coach, Stephanie Hanlon, is going to be taking you through a process on how to create your vision for real estate the same way she helps Olympic athletes create a vision for their life and get to their podium. And their podium happens to be a gold medal, standing on the podium, listening to their country's anthem. In your particular case, it's something different, but it's the same process. And we brought in an Olympic coach to take you through it, folks. You get that at Acre Real Estate Investor Summit.
Well, this goes back to what we talked about earlier, and we changed Acre up quite a lot. And we this is kind of cool. Toronto, we presented in Edmonton, and then we did a late 2019, our new version of Acre, which was another kind of tweak and refined, and it was an epic event. It was so spectacular. And Toronto, guess what? You know, third time's a charm. We're really going to come in. It's going to be pretty polished, and you guys are really going to enjoy this event. We're going to make sure you do, because you're going to learn so much.
Now, the last thing I want to touch on, Patrick, before we move on this slide, because I just saw it, now I got to talk about it, which is time, money, knowledge, right? So a lot of everyone listening, folks, every single one of you listening is coming at this real estate game with different assets. You have different amounts of time, different amounts of money, different amounts of knowledge, and different amounts of focus. And we have a matrix we're going to walk you through, because if you have a lot of time but not a lot of money, you should be using different strategies and different tactics than someone who has very little time but a lot of money. For example, let's just say you're a pilot and you have a good amount of money but very little time because you're always in the air, you're always outside of the country. You should not be the same type of investor using the same tactics necessarily as someone who's just starting out. They're 22 years old. They have a very little amount of money, but they got all the time in the world, and they want to hustle, and they want to work, and they want to grind, and they have a different vision than you do. We got to apply different tactics. Now, the thing about that I love about this topic is it's a never-ending conversation, Patrick, because the time, money, knowledge, focus, assessment people did last year, it has to be redone this year. Just like a balance sheet, it's constantly changing.
It is, and it doesn't matter where you're entering the game. So whether you're on this call and you're on this webinar and you're looking at it going, should I go to this event, or what am I going to learn? And you've already got 3, 5, 10 doors, or whether you're just starting out and you don't even, you're not quite sure how to spell real estate. Ultimately, it doesn't matter where you enter the conversation. This is something that we've done for this many years, and we understand that getting grounded in this and these Acre events really are grounding. And for those of you who may be more experienced and you go, well, what am I going to get out of this event? I mean, if you're investing in real estate, you know that one tip, one understanding, one new lesson learned can translate into hundreds of thousands of dollars. And certainly that's what Acre is about. I saw one member on there who's been to 12 acres. And why do they keep coming? Well, you come for the community, you come for the support, you come to put yourself in an environment of like-minded individuals who don't think you're crazy investing in real estate. Many of you have probably had that experience where you tell your family, I'm going to start investing in real estate. They go, what, are you crazy? There's a bubble, and the interest rates are going to go this way, and the bank's going to do that, and you're just going to be, fixing toilets and furnaces and dealing with bad tenants. It's hard.
Yes. And
you're not in there. When you come to Acre, everybody's going, yeah, we got this. We're going to do this.
100%, Patrick. And so, folks, it doesn't matter how you're coming at this. It doesn't matter if you're starting out with $10,000 in the bank and you need to, or $0 in the bank and you need to raise money. It doesn't matter if you have 0 properties or if you have 50 properties or 50 doors or however you want to measure it. It doesn't matter. Acre is the right place for you because we're going to have the right system for you. That's why we've been around so long, Patrick, is people ask me all the time, how come Rain, unlike any other real estate education company, any single one of them, how come you guys have been around so long, almost 30 years? The answer is because we can help everyone, from someone who's just starting out to someone who's got 30 properties and they want to get to 60 properties. We can help them all.
Yeah, we sure can.
Any last thing you want to mention on this, Patrick?
I think you nailed it on the time, money, knowledge. We're going to dig into that a lot more. Time, money, knowledge, focus. We talk about that, the matrix at Acre. Understanding where you enter that conversation can be a game changer for many. Is when you start to see what you have access to yourself and you put yourself in the matrix, it actually opens up a whole door of understanding and often of opportunity for you, because guess what? If you don't have time, then you know what you need to do with money and with knowledge and with focus. We talk about time management. I'm really clear on where I see the most successful individuals is they have focus management, because it isn't about the time that you manage. It's about, you actually can't change time, but you can manage your focus. And the most successful real estate investors have very, very clear managed focus. No distractions.
Yes, and now I got a question come in, so I have to answer it, and it's related to this, which is that button closer to the bottom that says economic research. Someone's asking me, will Acre help me find good deals? I have a hard time finding good cash flowing properties. Abso-freaking-lutely. We will show you the economic research of what you need to do, where you need to invest, where you should be looking at. And we're going to teach you, not only teach you exactly where you should look, we're going to teach you about cycles. We're going to teach you about how to fish, not just give you the fish. All of this is covered, and much, much more, by the way, folks. We simply cannot cover, we cannot make you the best real estate investor in a weekend. That's not our goal. Let's be very frank about this. This is not our goal. But what is our goal is to get you started down the right path, because if you don't do this, if you don't do something about your financial security and your financial certainty, then the failure is you might have to work forever. You may never live that life of your dreams, and that would be terrible. Igor asked, will you present our top cities to invest in Ontario? Yes, we.
Just hold on here. We don't know that. We might save that for the member meeting on the 25th.
Ooh.
But we are teaching people how to fish.
Gotcha. I'm glad you stopped me there, Patrick. I'm glad you stopped me.
Yeah. Maybe we'll over deliver. I'll talk to Jennifer. We'll see what's going on.
Wonderful. All right, Patrick, we got a lot more to cover, and
Yep.
we're I said we'd be at this for 40 minutes, and here we are. It's been 40, and we're still going. So, folks, if this is useful, please let us know. We want to bring as much value to you as possible. We want you to know what you're getting with Acre. We're delivering so much. I mean, it's action packed. Patrick and I went through it earlier today, and my gosh, Patrick, you were like, how are we going to do all of this?
Yeah. John Lombardo asked about Montreal, and John, I know that you're a Montreal guy, but the one thing about if you're out of province and Montreal, close to Toronto, guess what? This education still is relevant wherever you take it. Keep in mind, is we're teaching you to fish. So as much as we can't look at every town in Canada and go invest there, this is a good town, that's a good town. We are going to equip you to understand how to do your own research and assess the cities that you may want. Yeah, we have top cities, and we look across the province, and we can confidently say, when you look at Alberta, yes, Edmonton and Calgary at the bottom of the cycle, great time to get in the game. What's going on in Hamilton? What's going on in Peterborough? Why is Peterborough still a good place to invest again? So we have all of that, but we're going to teach you how to do that.
Wonderful. All right, Patrick, let's move it along.
Okay, let's do it. So ethos, ethos is in this conversation, it's about us, but it's really about who you are as a real estate investor, having the understanding. So for those of you who, I saw that note. So for those of you who are not clear on what ethos is, look at it strictly as, who you are as a character. Now, when you start to show up in a certain way, and we had this conversation on a webinar that we did around raising capital, it's important for you to intentionally show up a certain way. And what is your ethos? For us, this is our ethos, RAIN. It's about the energy, and I happen to put an acronym around it, and that's all cool, but it's really about the energy that we bring. We're not there about what we get. So RAIN members understanding ethos, when they walk into the room, they're going, what do I bring into that room? And that's energy. Trust. And we're going to talk a little bit about trust, I think, on the 4 quadrants of trust,
yep.
Or the 4 dimensions of trust. So trust is a real big one, and we're going to touch on that next. And we forgot the O in this. We haven't got to the O. We'll get to that in a minute. But do you care? The H in ethos is really about the heart. You have to care, and you have to care for your tenants. You have to care for potential joint venture partners. You have to care that you're delivering a great product. Ownership is taking responsibility for the decisions that you make. We say that your life is a reflection of the decisions you make and the decisions you don't make. And not making a decision, for example, is a decision. So when we start to look at our ethos and who RAIN is, we talk about soul, and that is really wrapping our arms around all of these things, the energy, the trust, the heart, the ownership. But it really is a character, it speaks to the character and the brand of RAIN and our team. And I invite you to consider, for you, being intentional as you go forward as a real estate investor, and the consideration for a real estate investor. Ethos is a very, very important conversation to have. What's your ethos? That's the question.
Patrick, this is a big topic. This is a real core principle that we have going forward. If this is the first time you hear about it, don't worry, it's not the last. And if you've heard this before, don't worry, it's not the last. This is something we're going to talk a lot about going forward, because we've really nailed this as this is the real estate entrepreneur success cycle, because so many people go through this, Patrick. And what's so enlightening about this is after you present this, I always get the same feedback from people. People say, I knew something was going on, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I could feel something was different, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And this gives people a label to be able to say, I understand what's happening. I understand why I'm not being successful, because there's some people on listening to this right now that are thinking, man, I got to go to Acre because I'm trying and I'm failing. Like I'm sucking at this real estate thing and I need help. There's others of you that are thinking, I really want to get to that next level, but I'm running up against obstacles. And there's others of you who say, I just got to get started. This will explain it, Patrick.
Yeah, I think this particular slide is as foundational as the business of investing in real estate, treating your real estate investing like a business. This is so powerful. And so please, if you're taking notes, this is a time to really start to place yourself where you are in this success cycle. You know, we are often, wherever we are, whether it's our career or real estate investing, look at your comfort zone. And we live in this comfort zone, and it's all warm and fuzzy and it feels safe and we're in control and we got this, but we're not doing anything. And what happens is you have to realize that there's low risk, awesome, and we feel like we got it under control. But after a while, you start to go low reward, low satisfaction, and you start to get restless. But then you go out and you say, okay, well, let's go to this webinar and see what these guys are talking about, real estate and raising capital and all this stuff. And then we start talking about it, and it's like, whoop, whoop, a little bit of fear zone goes in there going, what are these guys talking about? Oh my gosh, that sounds risky. Real estate science is so hard. So then we start getting indecisive. We start questioning our confidence. We start putting excuses in front. Oh, I don't have time, and the economy's crappy, and I'm too busy, and I'm not going to spend any money there. And then when we do get into it, we get into analysis paralysis, which I will tell you, analysis paralysis is actually the biggest flag of fear, because it keeps you, you justify it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little tip that I don't often share. The minute you justify something, stop, look at it, because if you're justifying, it's wrong. If you're going, well, I just got to do some more analysis because, take a look at it. Then you get stuck. You can't change, and you're starting to actually think about what will my family think if I start investing in real estate? What will they think if I go to a whole weekend of learning about real estate? Guess what? That was what keeps you in the veer zone. What we're encouraging you to do is tonight you actually stepped out a little bit. You actually go, oh, that's pretty safe. I can be on this webinar. I can check these guys out. And you started stepping into the learning zone. So you're still in the fear zone, some of you, and now I'm going to encourage you to step into the learning zone, where you start to realize that you can embrace change. And we're telling you, you can do it, by the way. We've seen it. We've done it with thousands of real estate investors. You start to look at trying new things. You look for leadership. Beautiful, brilliant. That's the things that you got to do. You start to understand that you need to create relationships. And then you start to say, well, what new skills do I need to train? What things and understandings do I have to develop? And that becomes part of a really foundational part of the learning zone. And all of a sudden you start to listen with an open mind. Hopefully you may come into this and your mind is a little bit closed. You get to know JG and I, we're pretty sincere, we're pretty real about what we talk about. And hopefully you've opened your mind to listening a little bit. Because when you start to get through the learning zone, you then go into the growth zone. Now, as I'm having this conversation, I want you to start placing yourself in this, okay? And then I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you, because there's a reason it's called a success cycle. So when you're into the growth zone, you start to create. You understand what your purpose is. JG and I are really clear on what our purpose is. We're here to support others' success. We're inspired, we're lit up, we get fired up to do these webinars and get on stage and teach people how to invest in real estate, how to have success. We do coaching, we do all sorts of stuff. That's what we love. That's part of our purpose. We're very focused in our action. We actually love to provide leadership. And so as you get into that cycle, and some of you have been in it, you know what it is. It's really fun to support other people and provide leadership. You get into a like-minded community. a culture of support and a culture of collaboration. That's so critical. So RAIN members, for example, pay to play. You know, they're there. They're not there for free. They're not, what do I get? There's what do I bring? And that takes the quality of individuals in my world up to a new level, okay? And you're in an environment for success. So very, very important. And when you get into that space, then all of a sudden you see what's possible. When you're with a like-minded community, when you're in a collaborative culture, guess what? You start to see what's possible. And when you see what's possible, opportunities start to present themselves. Now, here's the kind of the kicker, a little bit of the trick, because then guess what happens after that? You just go to a new comfort zone, because all of a sudden you've entered, you've gone through all this and you go, I got this. And then somebody says, well, gosh, why don't we do multifamily? Why don't we do commercial? Let's get into a whole new game. And you go, whoop, whoop, whoop. I was just comfortable. I was really, really good at doing single family. I was really, really good at doing this. And now you're asking me to do that. But here's the fundamental difference. The fundamental difference is this, is now you have the gift of awareness. And that gift of awareness sets you up to go, hold it. I know this cycle. All I'm doing is stretching myself. I'm now into the next level. And guess what? I'm into a new place, in a new comfort zone. I got to stretch myself out again. And here we go. And it all starts to happen much quicker because you have the awareness around it and you understand the cycle.
And busting through this, Patrick, you know, busting from the comfort zone to the fear zone, and then from the fear zone to the learning zone, and the learning zone to the growth zone, you know, every single time you bust through one zone to the next, what's interesting is you're growing to the next level, but it's also the danger zone. And the reason for that is if you bounce back into your comfort zone, you actually reinforce that danger zone. So and some of you know what I'm talking about because you're in analysis by paralysis when it comes to real estate. You've analyzed 1 million deals and you can't seem to bust through. You keep bouncing back. I can't do it. There's always a reason. I don't know what my dad's going to think. I don't know what my mom's going to think. I don't know what my wife's going to think. All these various excuses you're giving yourself and every time you don't bust through, keep in mind, you're doing in some ways, Patrick, you're doing irreversible harm until you do bust through.
That is absolutely true. And, you know, here's the kind of fundamental that JG, you and I know this. You know, I've been in business 35 years. I can't even tell you how many times I've screwed up. You are going to make mistakes. And then you're going to make them. And you're actually, I don't even really look at them as mistakes anymore, to be honest with you. I just look at them as, guess what? I've just learned something else. And I've had some really big lessons. I've had some very expensive lessons. But ultimately, it's always made me better. And has always led me into what's next because I bring those lessons forward with me, which gets me through the fear zone. You know, I've gone through some stuff and I just go, you know, something else comes up. I go, that's nothing. Like, let's, you know, move on, right? I hit it for a moment, awareness and understanding it. And the one thing that I'm really blessed to have done is surround myself with some great people. The RAIN community is really like family, so that I don't ever worry about what I don't know, to be honest with you. I really don't. Because I'm only ever a few emails or a chat room to reach out and get all of the connections I need and the answers I need to any of the questions I have. That is really the power of RAIN, but it's also the power of the Acre event because those resources are at your disposal for the whole weekend. Connections, expertise, the resource for what you need. Even if you're looking for a deal, pretty good chance you're going to find one there. You're looking for financing. Guess what? We've got financing guys there. We've got accounting, legal. I mean, you're really supported by the sponsors that are there who are all industry experts as well. And many of them are strategic partners in terms of they've been around a long time with us.
Folks, this success cycle works for you in your job, works for you in your career, works for you in your any kind of growth, works for definitely you in your real estate, you as a real estate entrepreneur. And some of you are even going through this right now as it relates to coming to this event. Listen to your self-talk and you're thinking, shit, I think I'm going to do this. I want to do this. Do it. Don't do it. Do it. Don't do it. You're in an analysis by paralysis. As it relates to this little decision, for a few $100, you're going to see the price in a minute. We've got killer deals for you. but you're in the fear zone as it relates to this. Imagine what kind of shape you're gonna be in when you need to make a $250,000, $500,000, a multi-million-dollar real estate investment. You gotta consider that, Patrick. That's the fact.
Yes. And and for those of you who are going to come to the event, that slide is so important. We're going to show it again. We're going to drive it home even harder when we're at the event. It is so essential to your success, is understanding where you are in that cycle.
100%. Now, Patrick, next we're going to move on to, and I'm just going to share my screen here. I'm going to share, and we're going to move on to the 4 dimensions of trust, and then we're going to bring it home for a landing. Folks, we'll be done in about 10 minutes or so. So let's talk about 4 dimensions of trust, Patrick.
Okay, 4 dimensions of trust. This one is really essential and critical because it speaks to a lot of things. When we think about trust, and we have to look at it from 2 places. Okay, so if you're sitting at the table talking to somebody, you are consciously or subconsciously assessing that person across the table if you're doing business with them, for example. And we base the 4 dimensions on trust of this. First, is that person telling the truth? Now, that's a pretty conscious thought process that we have. We look at it and we go, yes, we actually assess and we determine, is that person telling the truth? Now, we have to maybe do some diligence on it. We have to maybe do some referrals on it, all of those things, but we're actually assessing that. But always keep in mind one thing, you're also being assessed. Now, the 4 dimensions of trust is we always think truth is the ultimate, but it's actually not. The other dimension of trust is the person you're talking to, okay, I got it. They're telling the truth, but are they reliable? Can I count on them to do what they say they're going to do? Get the job done on time, show up on time, invoice the same amount that they give to you? Are they reliable in that context of what it is that you're trying to do business with them for? So reliability is another dimension of trust that we can never step over. And once again, I want you to understand is that you have to look at yourself. Okay, this is really important because I'm going to end on something that sometimes surprises people because they never think of it this way. Here's a big one. Is that individual competent? Because they can be telling the truth and they can be reliable, but are they competent? So incredibly important to understand that word. And the 4th dimension is, do they care? Because guess what? They can have the other 3, but if they don't care, they're out. Doesn't matter. And it ultimately is, if they do care and they may be a little bit questionable on some other, guess what? There's a lot of leeway there. So it's one you have to watch, because sometimes they care, they truly, sincerely care. But guess what? They're not totally telling the truth. They're not totally reliable. They're not totally competent. So we have to be very careful about these 4 dimensions of trust. Now, here's the kicker. In the 4 dimensions of trust, the biggest one is, do you trust yourself? This is where we break down. This is when we look at the entrepreneurial success, the real estate entrepreneur success cycle. This is the breakdown right there. It's one of the things that we hit the fear zone, JG, and guess what? We question ourselves. We don't really trust ourselves. Stephen Covey wrote a great book called The Speed of Trust. And in that book, he shares with where we actually compromise our own trust. The diet that we say we're going to be on and we're going to stick on, and yes, I'm going to work out every day and I'm not going to eat sugar, and then the next thing you know, you're eating jars of cookie, and I'm gonna quit drinking Coke or whatever soft drink, and you go, no, and then all of a sudden, guess what? But now it seems innocent enough, doesn't it? But guess what? We're actually compromising our confidence in our own trust of ourselves. And so as much as we take responsibility, we want you to come to Acre, and we really do, and we've been doing it a long time. We know that we're telling the truth. We know we're reliable. You're going to have an absolute event that opens on time, and we're competent because we've been doing this for so many years, and we really sincerely care. We do. Now, you can assess that however you want. The next question you have to ask yourself is, do you trust yourself? Because it isn't about the 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 or 1,000, whatever the number is to attend an event like this. You got to go, you got to show up, You got to commit to learning, and then you got to commit to taking action. And that is absolutely critical. And if you don't trust yourself, guess where you sit? The fear zone and the comfort zone. And you oscillate and you make excuses. Guess what? It's about you.
And the one thing you can do, because trust is not, Patrick, trust isn't black or white. It's they're versions of gray. You start with black, and then you slowly start making these little sacrifices as you talk about. And next thing you know, you trust yourself less and less and less. And then that gets reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. And the only way to get out of that is to make a bold move. The only way to get out of that is to make a bold move and a bold bet on yourself, and then hold yourself to the task of making it happen. Hold yourself to the task. Come to Acre, show yourself, show your family, show your community, but most importantly, show yourself you can do this. I'll tell you this, we believe in you, we trust you, and shit, we know you could do it, because you should hear the stories of people that have come to Acre, single moms with 17 kids that just came from overseas, but had 22 bucks in their pocket, and now they've done $100 million worth of real estate. I mean, the stories are astronomical. There's not a single story someone's going to tell me that I'm going to believe and say, oh, you're right, you can't do it. Because if someone else has done it before you, that means you can do it too.
You bet. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we're having this event February 7th to 9th. JG, bring us home on all of the stuff.
Well, folks, like we said, confusion's the enemy. For us at RAIN, confusion is the enemy. So-called experts, media, social media, other people offering free stuff just to sell you other things. Confusion is the enemy, and we're trying to remove confusion. Come and get grounded. Come and find out the real way. I mean, RAIN has been the #1 source and #1 resource for real estate education across the country for 28 years, soon going on 30 years. 151,000 investors have trusted us with their wealth, their family's wealth, their generation's wealth. You can too. This is a completely redesigned In the Trenches Acre Real Estate Investor Summit. We're getting right in there. And someone asked a while ago, are there breakout sessions? The answer is yes, there are a few breakout sessions. There are some breakout sessions for beginners, and there are some breakout sessions for more advanced investors. But I will tell you this, these are In the Trenches events. You're being taught by experts that are doing this on a day-to-day basis. You're being shown systems that have amassed $5.3 billion of value and net worth for our clients. So these are In the Trenches events. And the last thing is that this is about you and your financial security, certainty, and freedom. This is about designing it so that it happens guaranteed. Your timeline might not be as fast as you like. You might want financial freedom within 3 years, but I promise you, if you work at it, you'll get there. It may not happen in the timeline you want, but you will get there. We'll show you a system for you to get there step by step by step. So folks, the tickets are $697. That's the retail price of the tickets. We're offering them today only for $347. David, our real estate solution specialist, has probably put the link in the chat by now. Yes, he has. And if you're going to come to Toronto, it's February 7th through 9th. If you're coming to Calgary, it is March 6th, 7th, and 8th. Click on the link and use the promo code to get that price, $347. That is only good for today. That promo code automatically gets deactivated at midnight tonight, Patrick.
So take action, trust yourself to do it. Jump in. We're there to support you. We got you. And you're going to be really glad you attended this event. 100%.
So we'll take some questions, Patrick. There's a few questions we have to answer because people have been asking. Great questions, by the way, folks. I'm just looking at the questions here. So this is great. Let me put this back up with the promo codes. Perfect. Okay, so let's start with the beginning. Patrick, you see any questions? Any questions, folks? Go ahead. And by the way, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. If you want to talk to David, our real estate solution specialist, because you have a specific question about something, that's okay too. David is happy to call you. If you're ready to go, just click the link and sign up. This is going to, and by the way, this is satisfaction guaranteed, right, Patrick? I mean, if you're not satisfied with your purchase, We will refund you your ticket. This is satisfaction guaranteed. We haven't had anybody ever not be satisfied, so we're very confident offering that.
Pretty confident.
But folks, this is the one-stop shop, as I like to say, the Hallapalooza for real estate investors coast to coast. So now, people are asking about the cost of REIN membership. Kelly, if you could put your phone number in the chat, David will give you a call. By the way, folks, if you are a REIN member, you get to come to Acre for free. So some of you have been on the fence. You guys know we have thousands of members coast to coast. And some of you are on the fence and you're thinking, I think I might become a REIN member. This might be the time. Well, if you do become a REIN member, you get Acre for free. So put your just put your phone number. If you're interested in membership, put your phone number and your email in the chat, and David, our real estate solution specialist, will give you a call, walk you through the costs and what it all includes and all that stuff. So that'd be good. Yeah, perfect. Good job. That's great, Kelly. And someone else, we've had 3 or 4 people ask that question already, so that's great. What other questions can we answer for you, folks? Patrick, yeah. I saw a question about commercial. That's the question I want to go.
Commercial industrial.
Yeah.
So Dominic Mandato is going to be there. We're going to open up the conversation to, it's an interesting point that was brought up and and I don't know if the individual who asked the question is still on the call or on the webinar, but it is a great question because Landlord-Tenant Act in Ontario, that whole thing is really, so some people are actually going, I want to get out of that. I want to get into commercial. I want to get into light industrial and get past that. And work with business owners and do it. And so we are actually opening up the conversation to that. I had an extensive conversation today with a young man that is actually has a lot of expertise in that. We've got a number of contacts that we're in the background percolating. We're actually looking at putting on a one-day event on commercial and light industrial. And even if we don't do that, we'll definitely be doing some webinars and stuff into the future, probably the back half of 2020, because we've got a pretty full agenda, so yeah, I don't want to overpromise.
It is a topic we do cover, though, and there's also a lot of commercial, industrial, especially commercial, especially multifamily. There's a lot of that experience in the room. I mean, I'm thinking about the keynote speakers that have done $2 billion worth of multifamily.
Yeah, Dave Steele's going to be there. Cynthia Asen is going to be there. Dominic Mandato is going to be there. I mean, we got a really pretty
just a couple $1 billion worth. It's no big deal, Patrick.
Yeah. They've done a few things, yes, for sure.
Another question about the Tandler. I want to actually address this. We are having a session on Friday evening about some hacks, some ways to get above guideline rental increases in Ontario. Now, rent increases in Ontario are a big deal given rent controls, as everybody knows. Jennifer Hunt has put together an amazing presentation. You do not want to miss it on exactly what you can do to get above guideline rent increases. We're not suggesting anything shady here, folks. There are ways of going about it so you can actually increase rents beyond the approved guidelines. This is all part of the process. Jennifer Hunt's going to take you through the process of exactly how to do that. That's Friday evening, Patrick.
Well, that's a great Friday night. And that's that's the other thing. So a couple things around that is for the REIN members that happen to be listening into this, there's Friday, Saturday, Sunday of Acre, so see you there. But then right after Acre, we go, it's awesome because it's going to be a launching pad into one of our regular monthly member meetings on February 25th. And that we're actually going to use Acre as a launching pad into some other deeper discussion. Jennifer's going to be doing some stuff really around what's behind the curtain and the economic fundamentals that are really going on in Ontario at the time.
Back to commercial industrial, where we are having a segment about how to use your RSPs to buy commercial industrial buildings. There is a strategy for that we're going to be showing on Sunday morning. So there's another component of that commercial industrial.
Yeah, I think people can understand on this particular in this particular event. We look at, there's lots of ways to invest in real estate, and it used to be, I'm going to buy, I'm going to hold, I'm going to get a property manager, I'm going to manage myself, and that's still a very popular strategy, by the way. There's lots of do-it-yourselfers, but when you start to look at the time, money, knowledge, focus, matrix and you start to look at where you sit in that matrix, then you start looking at treating it like a business, your decision-making process may change. You may look at it and go, I'd rather be the capital partner than the doing partner. I may not necessarily look at buying a hard asset. I may actually consider looking at a limited partnership. Oh, you know, I'm tired of Canada. We're also going to talk about, because of Dave Steele, I mean, we're going to talk about US, you know, what's on the other side of the border. And here's a guy who's done a couple $1 billion worth of real estate, he does lots of stuff in Canada and has all his life. But he's also branched off into the US, and he has a reason he's doing that. And he's also has a reason that he's still very bullish on parts of Canada.
And the other thing just made me think about, Patrick, which is if you're a RAIN member, spouses this year come for free. First time ever. Spouses come for free. We are big proponents of investing with your spouse. This is very important, and couples that invest together, invest together. And I was going to say stay together longer. I'm not sure if that's true or not.
Yeah, we can't promise that.
but I will say that spouses do come for free, which is awesome if you're a RAIN member. And again, if you're thinking I might become a RAIN member, that you get 2 tickets for free. That's a $1,300 value. Just think about that. So that's pretty incredible. Now, Patrick, one other thing though is, see, this is why the law, what we call the law of possibilities, is so important, right? There's people listening to this that may have 1 or 2 or 3 properties, and they're running up against the financing wall, and they may have some cash, but they can't get financing anymore. It's very difficult. It's getting, challenging. I'm thinking about commercial industrial. I'm thinking about multifamily, and I'm thinking about the people that in their minds, they're trying to take this leap, but it's not like a single step leap from step 1 to step 10. There's several ways to get into multifamily. There's several ways to get into commercial industrial. There's several ways to get into the US market. And you don't necessarily have to invest millions of dollars or take all the risk on yourself. I mean, there's so many different ways. And Patrick, people just don't know. I mean, for you and I, it's like the back of our hand, because we deal with this every day, but the average investor just doesn't know.
Yeah, the average investor doesn't know. And the actual level of learning that goes into it. I mean, we've done 2- and 3-day workshops on multifamily investing, and that's all we talked about, was buying a multifamily building. And so we have to really understand that the learning curve in the world of real estate is going to be long. You can take it on full time, but it's still a long learning curve. If you take it on up full time, of course it would be shorter, but there's just so much to learn. And some of it is that you can't learn it in a classroom. You can't learn it in a weekend, even if you hear it. You're actually going to learn the concept of it. You're going to go apply that concept, and then it's going to really take you to the next level of understanding it. Because as you know, JG, I can teach you, or we can teach you all sorts of things about buy and hold real estate, but when you get it and you put it in the field, all sorts of nuances start to happen, and the vendor did that, and the lawyer said that. What about this easement, and where did that come from, and what's this crack in the basement, and oh gosh, my inspector says that there's no insulation in the ceiling and that there's a leak in the roof, and all of a sudden, guess what? We can only teach so much, and then you get in the field, and then you start to learn the next level, and that is foundationally why having a really powerful community and putting yourself in an environment of other real estate investors. I mean, we share stuff that to us it's just like, of course, it's like this. And I mean, some of that is pretty profound of what that results in, That's that one little 2-minute, 6-minute, 3-minute conversation all of a sudden can really translate into a lot of money and a lot of success because you know how to apply it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right, with real estate is every decision you make that goes well has an overwhelming, effect on your success in life. But it also goes the other way. Every mistake you make has an overwhelming punch you in the face and in the gut effect on everything. So
yeah, I make a face because I'm older than JG, so my mistakes have been, costly.
Well, and
you're too young. You haven't been around long enough to make the mistakes I've made. You will one day.
And that's the benefit of Acre. That's the benefit of this real estate investor summit. That's the benefit of RAIN, is to make sure that those mistakes are made as infrequently as, or avoid them at all costs if you possibly can, but you're learning from other people. You're learning from a community that's been there before you, both on the negative side, making sure you don't make mistakes. Also on the positive side, making sure, like you said, Patrick, in a conversation, we may say this, that, and the other thing. Next thing you know, it's an extra $200,000 in the person's, back pocket in 3 years. Was it worth going to that meeting? Yeah, I would say it's probably pretty good use of time.
It's surprising how many people are still hanging around listening to our conversation. I love it, by the way, and that's great.
I think I would like people to at least let us know they're still listening, because I think people are are gone to bed.
They're watching TV. They walked away from their computer. The one thing that I would ask people is, if you haven't registered for Acre yet, and if you're still on the fence about why you would register for Acre or why you would be part of RAIN, tell us that. Like, why are you on the fence? Why are you still, what other information do you need that would make you say, yeah, I'm going to go to Acre and let's do it?
Or did you already sign up and you were just
now you're waiting for us to tell some joke that we're just really bad at,
At least there's some people listening, Patrick. We're getting some comments here.
Okay, good.
So we know some people are there.
So what's in your way? So what's in your way of attending an amazing weekend, a safe weekend? You're not going to get pitched deals of real estate. You're just there to learn. You're a great community. Lots of really, really accomplished real estate investors in the room that you get to kind of look at and have conversations with and set a benchmark and see what's possible. What's in your way of registering for Acre right now? Tell us so that we can see if we can help you.
Yeah, I like this question, Patrick.
Be brave. Be brave.
Be brave, and we'll be brave too.
Put it on the table. Get through that. Where are you in the cycle? Yeah. I have to manage mom. Do we provide childcare? You have no idea how many times that question has been asked and considered. And we've thought about it many times, because we know that it is some pressure for childcare, to the degree that, we've actually, at our regular member meetings, we've had some moms go, I don't have childcare for my 8-month-old. Can I bring him? And we go, yeah, of course you can bring them. Keep them at the back of the room. And if they cry, scoot out. But yes, you gotta be there.
I was just about to say, we have tons of people who come with kids.
They do. They sit at the back of the room, and I don't know, maybe they push the soft spot on their head or something, but ultimately they sneak out when they need to. It's not very interesting for that kind of there's that group where they start getting moving and they want to stay active. But we've had many people bring their 12-year-old. We actually had a 10-year-old, but a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, man, oh man, they sat through the weekend and it was really cool.
Yeah, totally. People are asking, Patrick, I see if we do acres anywhere else. Toronto is the only spot in Ontario we do acres. We do acres essentially 4 spots a year: Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, and Toronto. And, but as we continue to grow the community, who knows, maybe we'll do some in Montreal, maybe we'll do some in Ottawa. I'm not making any promises, folks.
No, don't make any promises.
Very cool. Awesome. Yes. Yeah. So if you missed, excuse me, I see some people asking questions about, oh my gosh, sorry. I see people asking questions about the Raising Capital event, Patrick, which we are hosting a Raising Capital event. If you're interested in RAIN's success formula for raising capital and strategic partnerships, this is an entire system. It's not just an event. There is an event tied to it. It happens April 21st. David will put the link in here as well. It is not only for RAIN members. Anyone can join us. We got a great price on it. You can check out the link and check it out. And the event that's tied to it is April 21st, but it's an entire system. It comes with an online component. It comes with templates. It comes with documents. It comes with all of it.
So somebody suggested you would be coronavirus, maybe with that.
Yeah, Victor.
It would be the first to come out. It would be the first coronavirus to come out of the coronavirus. You just left Mexico. Okay. Now I get the coronavirus. Yeah.
I may have caught that coronavirus one morning. It went away by about noon, but I may have caught it one morning.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay, JG, I think we've run out of questions. What a great audience, and we're really looking forward to this event. The question about Edmonton, the Edmonton Acre event is in the third quarter of 2020 because we do Calgary in March, and then we do Edmonton, I think, in September.
They are different events.
Yeah, and they're different events. So we do a Calgary event, we do an Edmonton event. But if you're going to go to Edmonton, I'd go to Calgary too. Like 2.5 hours, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, there will be a replay of this webinar at some point. Somehow, it's also been streamed live on Facebook, so you can check that out. The other thing is, Wendy, I see you have great questions about RAIN membership and how many events are covered and all that stuff. Just put your information in the chat, and David will give you a call. I'll be happy to help you with that. Is this code only good till midnight tonight? Yes, it's only good till midnight tonight. This code is only good till midnight tonight. We reward action takers. We reward people who are going to bust through the fear zone and get into the growth zone. Plain and simple, because this is an essential skill you're going to need to be successful in real estate. Okay, so that's great. Thank you so much, Patrick. Awesome, man.
Thank you, audience. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and thanks for hanging back, and appreciate it. Hope to see you at Acre. And by the way, if you're at Acre, come and say hi, shake our hand. We're approachable. Just because we're like out there doesn't mean that we don't want to be hanging out with you guys.
We get lonely up on that stage. I mean, come say hi. And Patrick's favorite drink is tequila, just so everybody knows. I really like Starbucks coffee, so you can bring me that.
Oh yeah, you're such a
I just got back from Mexico, Patrick.
Living person, yes.
Folks, thank you so much. Hopefully you've enjoyed tonight. We have appreciated you listening. Hopefully you laughed a little bit at our jokes. Hey, by the way, the jokes do not get any better at Acre. I'm not promising that, but we are going to have a great time. I promise you that. And I promise you financial certainty, financial security, and one day financial freedom. We will see you at Acre, folks. Sign up now. Let's get her done.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.